What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, I'm going to talk about Mikey Garcia. There's a very well written article that came out yesterday out of ESPN by the guy Mark Kragel, and he talked to Mikey Garcia, and there's some things Mikey Garcia said about why he wants an Errol Spence Jr. fight after the Robert Easter fight if he wins, and why why he's not really thinking about fighting anybody in his own weight class, like a Vasyl Lomachenko in his weight class, or why he wouldn't fight Terrence Crawford, somebody who was also who's basically the same size as him as well, and Manny Pacquiao as well. And in listening to it, I really can understand where Mikey's coming from, and I appreciate where he's coming from, but I just don't care, man. And the reason I say I don't care is because it might work for him, but it's really not very good for boxing. And before I get into that, thank you guys for attending the video or watching this video. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can know when we release more of them. And also, I hope you'll attend the live streams that we do on a daily basis. Very good, a lot of fun. And the best way to know about it is if you hit the bell icon. Also, thank you to everybody that supports through Venmo and through Patreon. Venmo and Super Chat. It is very, very appreciated. Now, here's my thing. Let me first go through, a couple things that he said. First, he said about Vasyl Lomachenko, that he thought Vasyl Lomachenko would be an easier fight and he would make more money fighting Vasyl Lomachenko than he would Errol Spence Jr. I don't see that. I don't necessarily know why he would make more money fighting Vasyl Lomachenko in a co-promotion, but that's what he said, right? And he knows it'd be less reward or less risk. But he said that he doesn't want to have to do what Jorge Linares did, which was, go fight Vasyl Lomachenko in New York. He had to go to Vasyl Lomachenko. He had to fight underneath the Top Rank banner. And he had to deal with Bob Arum. He said the same thing for Terrence Crawford when this guy, Mark Kragel, because this is ESPN, and Mark Kragel is talking to him and says, well, what about, Terrence Crawford? And he said essentially the same thing, that it would be a harder fight to make than Errol Spence Jr. And then when he talked about Manny Pacquiao, he said Manny Pacquiao, maybe he was under the impression that Manny Pacquiao was still being promoted by Bob Arum. And I'm not sure that I know that he's not, from the words of Manny Pacquiao, but that doesn't mean necessarily that he wouldn't have to fight on ESPN. I'm not sure of the details on that, but he said Manny Pacquiao, and he talked about having to go to Manny Pacquiao. Like would Manny Pacquiao, would I go to Manila to fight Manny Pacquiao? He answered the question. Kragel said, well, would you fight Manny Pacquiao in Manila? He said, well, would he come to Mexico to fight me? Like, no, I'm not going to, we can meet in Dubai. We can meet somewhere in the middle. And I'm listening to this and the reason he wants Errol Spence is because it's an easier fight to make. I have to assume that he thinks that that Errol Spence Jr. is going to go to where he goes and where he wants the fight to be. And just listening to it, it almost sounds like, and I'm saying it almost sounds like, I can't say for sure that he thinks that he's going to have some, I hate this phrase, it's some A-side negotiation with Errol Spence Jr. Right? It's less money than it is against, it's less money than it would be against Vasyl Lomachenko. And it's an easier fight to make. He won't have to go to somebody else and fight underneath somebody else's banner. So, first of all, I understand him not wanting to deal with Bob Arum and Top Rank. Without a doubt, I understand that. But here's the thing about that. If he's going to ever unify any belt at 137 pounds, 135 pounds, 140 pounds, or 147 pounds, he's going to have to deal with Bob Arum. That's the only way unification can happen in any of those divisions, because he's got a champion at every one of those divisions. He's got a champion at 135. He's got two champions at 135, Ray Beltran and Vasyl Lomachenko. And even if Ray Beltran loses to Jose Pedraza, he's still more than likely going to have options on two. At 140 pounds, he has Jose Ramirez. At 147 pounds, he has Terrence Crawford. If he's trying to be great, unify. If what he said in this article about wanting to make his, name for his father and do these great things for his father. His father was used to pick strawberries, and he started this family, the family business, the family boxing business, right? And he wants to do it to get his dad's name and recognized in history. I think the best way to do that is to unify belts at the division that you're in. And on top of it, his dad said that he wants to see him fight Vasyl Lomachenko. So if he's doing this to get his dad's name recognized, dad's last name recognized in history, then why don't you do what your dad said and fight the guy that's right there for you? Now, there's the one side about that, you cannot get unification at 140, 135, 140, or 147 without dealing with Bob Arum. You just can't do it. And dealing with him as a promoter is dealing with him as a promoter. It's not like you're underneath a promotional contract, right? If Errol Spence Jr. gets to do what he wants to do and unify at 147, he's going to have to deal with Bob Arum. If Regis Porgray wants to unify at 140 pounds, he's going to have to deal with Bob Arum. Bob Arum is a reality in the world, and unfortunately, you might not be able to get around dealing with him. But from my perspective, I look at the reason that number one, I want him to get unification. I think unification is more important than skittering around weight classes and losing to Errol Spence Jr. or looking good and standing tall because you looked good, or you manage not to get knocked out, or you hit him a couple times in the first few rounds. You won a couple rounds. That's not unification, and being the champion at your welterweight division is something that only two people have achieved in the last 10 years. Four people have done it this century. That being Bernard Hopkins, Jermaine Taylor, Terrence Crawford, and Alexander Usyk. Four people have done it since the year 2000. That, to me, seems like a better way to solidify your name. But see what happens if you go and you fight. He asked him what happens if you go and you lose to Errol Spence. He said, well, I come back down there to lightweight. I come back down there to, I come back to 140. I go back down to 135 if I lose. Well, if you're going to come back down, if you lose, you're going to have to deal with Bob Arum, right? It's like, you can't stick your head in the sand and think you don't have to deal with Bob Arum at those weight classes. You do. You're not a heavyweight. If you're a heavyweight, you got to deal with Eddie Hearn. At this point in time, you got to deal with Eddie Hearn. It is what it is. It's not some situation where like Deontay Wilder gets out of dealing with Eddie Hearn. It's not a good excuse. You got to negotiate with him, try to find a deal, make it happen. I can have all kind of issues with Bob Arum and all kind of issues with Eddie Hearn. But at the end of the day, he's the promoter for a guy that has a belt. And in order to prove that you're the best, you're going to have to fight a guy that works for him. And since the guy works for him, you're going to have to deal with him. It's just what it is. Mikey Garcia can be his own promoter, or Errol Spence can be his own promoter. Deontay Wilder can be their own promoter. But at a certain point in time, you're going to have to deal with another promoter. Right? If you want to fight Joseph Parker, you're going to have to deal with that little Whatever that dude's name is, man. The dude got his nose so far up the backside of Eddie Hearn, you can't see his earlobes. But you're going to have to deal with it. And here's the other side. The last point on this for me is this. What is Mikey Garcia? Mikey Garcia doesn't deserve a shot at Errol Spence Jr. I'm a big Terrence Crawford fan, and I'll explain this. I was a big Terrence Crawford fan. I am a big Terrence Crawford fan, and I didn't like the fact that he became the immediate mandatory for the WBO belt against Jeff Horn. He had never fought anybody at the weight class before. Now, that's my point of view. He was the WBO champion at 140 pounds, but to make him the mandatory right away, I thought was unfair. I thought it was unfair. I think it's unfair to the other guys that have actually fought at 147 pounds who are already ranked by the WBO. But that's at least some type of argument for that. And I mean, I could see people I could be like, hey, I see how your point of view on that. But Mikey Garcia fighting for the IBF 147 pound title. Why? Why should he get a shot at that before Ugas does? Just out of fairness, why would he deserve that? And if he does get the fight, is he going to act like he deserves? Like if I was Errol Spence Jr. and he wanted that fight, I'd make that dude take that fight for pennies. You never fought up here. Now I'm not splitting it with you. I do. I hear I'm kind of joking, but I'm not joking at the same time. Look, what I want to see, this is my opinion. What I want to see in boxing is unification. Errol Spence Jr. already has a goal. Errol Spence Jr. is trying to unify the IBF and the WBC belts. He's been waiting to get a shot at the WBC championship for years. A fight between Errol Spence Jr. and the winner of Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, is just as big as a fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia. If you take, for example, the guy that I favor to win in that fight, Danny Garcia wins. What is the difference in the attraction for a fight between Danny Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. and Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia? Next to none. Errol Spence Jr. already has at least 3 guys in his weight class where the fights are as big as Mikey Garcia. It's not like Mikey Garcia is some megastar. Especially when you're talking about the welterweight division. There's 4 fighters. There's 4 fighters in the welterweight division whose name are easily as big as Mikey Garcia's is. So why does Mikey Garcia get to jump in front of line for a title shot? Even though he wants it, right? And I can understand why he would want it. But if he's going to get one, I think he should get one the way that the other guys get it. Just wait in line, man. Wait in line till you get your shot. If he's going to be at 147. But if all he's going to do is go up there to fight one fight, and if he loses, he's going to go back down to 135, then he's not helping the welterweight division. He's not helping the picture in the welterweight division. He's muddling the picture in the welterweight division. What's he going to be ranked in the 130? He's going to hold on to his 135. If he wins, he's going to hold on to his 135-pound belt, go up there and try to get a 147-pound belt. But then what? Say he wins, just the off chance that he wins. I don't know. I got here, but I don't think I can stay here. This fight I'll go back down to 135. So now he's going back 135. He vacates 147. That's what he did at 140. He won belts at 135, never defended it, went up to 140, won that, didn't defend it, dropped it, went back down to 135. Now he wants to go back up to 147. If he doesn't win that, then come back down to 135? No, man. That is not working along with trying to get, at least my view, with getting a unified champion in a division. Mikey should stay right where he is, fight Vasily Lomachenko, put pressure on people to make the Vasily Lomachenko fight and give him favorable numbers. If he was trying to push for it, there'd be a whole bunch of people pushing and trying to put pressure on ESPN and on Bob Arum to make that fight happen. But just to act like you can't make the fight to go play, to play hopscotch with weight divisions. I mean, that's just, I don't like it. But anyway, it is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.